get us the charcuterie board.
I know. Kirti, you had one job. Come on now.
Oh, shit. I was supposed to do that?
I think that was you.
Me?
Yeah. Mr. Cheese Man describing like cheese to their like
You can't get like a
microbial
3D porn description of cheese and not have it.
It was basically cheese porn.
It was cheese
Cheese
porn.
board.
Hey everybody, you're listening to God Spice with Greg and Kirti.
If for anyone who loves S&M, they're awesome dreams. I'm like,
I mean,
oh
I
my
guess
God.
that's fair. It's all relative.
It is all
I
really.
mean, I am wearing leather today.
You
I
are.
mean,
love
I
leather.
feel the vibe.
I mean,
I should have brought my leather pants.
Well, why didn't you get the memo?
You know,
We
it was
sent it out last night.
he literally was going to pack them.
they were with my pants, and it was a last minute decision to take them off the pile because we were running out of room in our suitcases.
For shame.
We had to make room for equipment.
Yes, and I thought it was going to be a little warm here to wear them, but it's actually been quite chilly.
I don't know
What's happening?
No, I heard from this amazing guy at this Thai restaurant a few days ago here in Pasadena that apparently it's the apocalypse.
Oh, absolutely.
And he said, next thing to come out on the streets will be zombies.
That
and
could
I was
possibly
like,
happen.
have you been watching too much of
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead. I know everyone's all hyped up about The Last of Us. Like, is that what's happening here?
Well, that's the roadmap for survival.
I mean, I have had a zombie apocalypse plan since I was in high school. So
Do you have like an emergency bag put together?
no, I'm not that crazy.
See, I think we need to put an emergency bag
We used to
together.
have after
I need
September
Dad
11th.
to give me all the penicillin he can.
Oh, that's penicillin would be key. After
I would just get an allergic reaction. I'll get the Z-Pack.
the Z-Pack.
We can do erythromycin.
that's
That's
true.
fine.
There we go. Yeah. I'm like, penicillin. I'll just, we're going to go into anaphylactic
I'm
shock.
somehow
like,
at least not to date allergic to anything medicine-wise.
I did used to have a go pack after September 11th. It
We
was
did.
advised to have a
I
go
had
pack.
it at my company.
So it had water, medicine, food, like
I was in
non-perishable.
first grade.
First grade?
I did not have a go bag.
No.
Oh my God.
But
That's
can I say
insane.
something crazy? Like when I was in first grade, they turned the TVs on when it was happening and put it in the classroom.
Wait, they
Oh,
put
my
it on
Lord.
for
they
you
put
guys?
it on in the classrooms.
That's not right.
That's not right.
That's not right at all.
That like at the time I was just confused. Now looking back, I'm like, what?
That doesn't make
That's
sense.
not cool that they
Like
put
I
that
was
on
6.
the TV. No,
Wow.
that's scary.
That
I
is
actually
scary.
saw, for me, reliving it, I was power walking with my mom
Yeah.
at this park that jets out in Staten Island, and you could see the Twin Towers very clearly.
Okay.
And I remember that morning, I had gotten home very late from work the night before. I was working in the entertainment industry then. And
Yeah.
we worked these weird hours, and
I
my
get
boss
that.
was cool with me getting in closer to like 10 or 11. I was like, I just can't come in by 9, like can't do it.
Fair.
And so I went power walking, and I literally, with my mother, saw one of the planes hit
Hit the building.
the building.
Oh
And she and I were
my
like,
God.
she and I were like, is that, are we really seeing that? Like, and then I was like, maybe he's a drunk pilot. And then we decided to sort of like just instinctively run back to the car in the parking lot instead of continue our power
Gut
walk.
instincts are so powerful. Like I always trust them.
Absolutely. And that's when like everyone's cell phone was not working because everybody was calling each other. And this
Yeah.
is when bandwidth was not what it is today.
Absolutely.
Insane. And that's insanity. Like that they put that on for you to watch.
Yeah.
That is insanity. I
Like,
remember.
I just realized I would have been 5 because I wouldn't have had my birthday yet.
Oh my gosh.
So like,
Wow.
That's crazy.
yeah, I'm like, what? Like I was literally a kid. And like, I don't think like at the time I even registered what was happening. I was like, this is a scary movie.
Right. Right. No, I really didn't think it would be what it ended up being.
Yeah.
I was really hoping the first plane that we saw, but then we were driving home on the news. They're like, oh my God, a second plane has come in.
Jesus.
I remember
was-
my business partner at the time, I was about 20 blocks away. He calls me and I'm in the office and said he just saw a plane hit the Trade Center. And we're trying to figure out, was it a small plane, like a Cessna? Is it like you can see like inexperienced pilots, maybe all of a sudden they can't climb out
Yeah, like
fast
the
enough.
little 2-seater,
Exactly,
like
a Cessna or of sorts. And so we're chatting, and then I said, well, let me go on like CNN or something like that and see if there's any news. There wasn't any news on it yet. And then he hangs up, and then all of a sudden he calls me back, and like another plane hits. And at that point,
Holy.
where there's like very few of us in the office at that time. And then the gentleman who is my manager, all of a sudden I take a look at his cube and he's like, he already booked. He didn't even tell his team, guys, if I were you, just leave. He just booked.
Were you in Tribeca?
I was Hudson and Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you were in Tribeca,
yeah, I was in Tribeca.
like Soho area.
But like literally didn't give any notice. He just
booked. He didn't say team leave. He just all of a sudden
Well, that's
cleared
very
out and
like
just
that's
took
not
off.
a very good leader.
he went
Yeah,
like
no.
protect myself. Like
Yeah.
you guys figure it out.
Correct. Figure it out. You're
That's insane.
you're on your own.
No, so
Yeah.
actually my boss somehow got through to me and he's like, I hope you're not on your way to the office, because I was that like anal type A who was always
Mm-hmm.
like first one in the office type.
Yeah, I get that.
And he was like so happy I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my later husband, but at the time boyfriend, was in Miami, and all he tried to do for hours was just try to call me and see if I was at the office, because my office was across the street from the second tower.
Jesus.
There was
Yes.
zero cell service. Like the bridges were shut down. Everything was shut down. You had to walk home.
I was working across the street,
Mm-hmm.
and my uncle, who you've met, he worked at 25 Broadway, which is a couple blocks down around the corner.
Okay.
And he always knew where I was, and
Mm-hmm.
they live like just 4 blocks from us in Staten Island. And he was there at 25 Broadway. And that poor guy, this is the difference between the dude you were dealing with and my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle, instead of like going with entire team, and they were all running to the ferry,
Mm-hmm.
like Staten Island
Yeah.
ferry, just to get off, or whatever ferries they could find in that like
that
south part of-
tracks.
Yeah.
He ran the opposite direction towards my building to see if I was there, and I was okay.
Oh wow.
And then the poor guy ended up in all this other cluster shit of people who he somehow was moved with a group that was like, they were trying to rescue people at that point.
Yes,
And
yeah.
he ended up like
Yeah.
somewhere, I think in New Jersey,
Oh.
through like some other ferry. Like he went and like, he ended
Yeah.
up poor thing in some other place. And it was all because he was trying to look for me.
I mean,
you.
that's how you know he's a good man.
he is a good
Like that's how you know. Like
yeah, he's a good human being. And that was a crazy time. That was nuts. You
Yeah.
were 6 and I had just turned 22.
Yeah. He wanted to make sure the Indian princess, Miss India USA, was taken care of.
Very funny.
That's true. She is Miss India USA.
Yeah,
Wait.
we do not talk about that.
I just did.
okay,
Yeah.
but also that's amazing.
Yeah, and that was when I was like a child. Like no, I was like 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I was
like
very young.
Yeah, no, I remember like the teachers crying. They all turned the TV news on.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all got picked up early from school. Like I remember my mom like watching it in the kitchen and like her crying, and I'm like oblivious to like what's going on
Oh my
because
God.
like you don't talk about terrorist attacks as a small child.
No,
No.
no, you don't. And my baby sister, she hates when I still call her this, but I think she loves it. But my baby sister is not that many more years older than you.
Yeah.
And so she was like, what, 8 or 9? And for them, like her then progressive years in school were all about how do we protect ourselves from terrorists?
I got a
attacks?
lot of that
So did
too.
you also go through that?
Yeah.
It's insane. And now today, not to make this a dreary episode, but our kids are dealing with like school shootings,
Yeah.
right? And how do we protect
We
ourselves
even had
from
that
crazy
when I was
shooters?
in high school.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
look at the 50s, right? Was that the when the Cold War started? They used to have
Well, we had the
drills.
Russian scare in 80s.
We did have the Russian scare in the
We
80s
had to
as
protect
well.
ourselves from a potential Russian
Yeah,
attack.
we had active shooter drills. We had an armed cop on campus.
Oh my God.
Like, again, I graduated 2013.
Holy cow.
So,
It's scary.
Yeah.
Well, you know, how we deal with our fears, though, I think also shapes us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
And you deal with a lot of people, right?
A couple here and there.
That's a good actually that's a good start because we it's funny we always end up sitting down with our guests and instead of like starting the show with them introducing themselves we always just end up in a conversation.
Well, yeah,
But I
because we
think
were already in one.
we're ready in one, so I think it's a perfect time so people can relate to exactly the amount of people that you deal with
Yeah.
on a daily basis to introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm Andi. I do hair out here in LA. And so I'm a salon manager currently, and I'm actually in 2 weeks going to be going down to a salon in Orange County, Alchemy Collective Hair Lab. And so definitely see a lot of different types of people coming in, like between staff or things like that and all of the clients and everything. We get a wide variety.
Okay.
So do you
interesting characters.
get to do famous people?
No, that's not really where kind of my vibe is at. Like, I always wanted to be the hairdresser like that I wanted growing up.
Sure.
Like, not necessarily the person who was going to say no because something was different or weird. Like, I do a ton of color, like rainbow hair, color corrections, a lot of more textured, edgy styles. Like, well, I can do the pretty hair too, but I did the celebrity styling thing a little bit when I did makeup before I did hair. And it's fun, it's cool, but I prefer getting to have more genuine conversation with people and like get to be an active part of somebody's life.
Yep. I'm very particular with my hairstylist, as you know. Like she knows that hair is very important to me.
Oh, yeah.
And when I find the right
I think
hairstylist,
hair is a part of our personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've actually walked out of salons before. I walked into a salon one day. It was a new stylist, and I'd already prepped them. I have curly hair. I have cowlicks, and I always pretty much tell a stylist that I work with, I want them, to me, it's a piece of art. Be creative.
Absolutely.
And for some guidance, just think of, I want something that's, edgy, as though I'm walking down the runway meets, a Rolling Stone cover. Something just kind of fun. And, I'm originally from the music industry, and just the way I am, my personality, the way I dress. And so I sat down in her chair, and the first thing she does is pull out a pair of clippers.
Yeah.
And she was literally about to touch my hair with clippers. I said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "My hair is thick."
You mean
I
the
said,
electric thing?
Yeah, the electric clippers.
No.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're not going to touch my hair with those things. It's just not going to happen." And so we're going back and forth, and we're like literally like fighting. And I'm that's it. I'm like leaving this establishment
Which is the
right
best
now.
move to do. And that,
Yeah.
like, for me, a big part of like any appointment is consultation.
Yes.
Like, I can cut hair fast. I can work fast. I would rather spend 15 minutes with somebody. Like, I mean, that's a long consultation, but still, like, tell me what you like. Tell me issues you have. Like, what's the longest length you want? What's the shortest? And it's like a lot of people don't necessarily know what they want, but they know what they don't want.
Right. Right.
So, like, one of my favorite questions is, like, what don't you like?
Yes.
What don't you want this to look like? Because people would be like, do whatever you want, whatever you think looks good. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a lot of different options.
Yes.
I have went through quite the few butchering of my hair.
Yeah, you've got thick hair.
I have thick hair. For me, I actually had wavy hair, straight wavy hair growing up.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad and mom, they didn't know what to do with my hair when it started to do weird curls.
Yeah.
Started kind of coming in. They're like, oh my God, what do we do with this hair? It's like bushy, like,
Yeah.
what do we do? And my
As though they've never seen hair before.
no, but the funny thing is, my dad has beautiful, like wavy, curly hair. Where do you think I got this hair from? Right?
Yeah.
And
But like curls weren't a thing that was talked about for such a long time.
nobody
Like,
knew how to treat curly hair.
Yep.
It was just like,
unless you were in the natural hair community, which like they've graced us with their knowledge a lot in the past couple years, but even in hair school, it's not taught.
it's a whole different technique
Absolutely.
to cut curly hair and
Yeah.
style it. And my dad, you know where he takes me? He took me to the Staten Island Mall
Oh.
to what's that called? Unisex hair salon or whatever, like
Like-
that chain.
Did you end up with like
Yeah.
something like this?
Greg, there's a
It
photo
was
that
like
we have.
this, I'm guessing, triangle.
They took my beautiful, like suddenly, like, beautiful locks that started to come in, and they gave me what they thought was a cool 80s haircut. And I looked like an Indian boy when I walked out.
Yeah.
Wait, how old were you at the time?
I don't know, 6 or 7.
Oh, I've seen that picture. Is that the one where you started crying?
I've cried many
Yeah,
times
yeah.
for different haircuts.
Oh no. That's the worst thing.
The worst thing
Like-
too is, can you imagine being in middle school?
It was like a barber haircut.
It was horrible.
Oh,
it was
I've-
horrible.
Like I've had so many bad ones too. Like I remember when I grew up in the same kid era, shockingly enough, right? Like, but so I wanted the long swoopy bangs.
Oh, yeah, I
because
remember
that
that
was a thing. This person, like, I was maybe like 15 at the time, cut bangs super thick straight across here.
No.
And were you looking for like Farrah Fawcett, like long ones that go
No,
out?
think like scene kids, emo kids swooping.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
no, I get it. Yep,
like
okay.
that.
Yeah,
look,
that
yes.
was the vibe
Yeah.
back then. Thankfully, we've outgrown it slightly. Not fully, but slightly.
Somewhat.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
right in the middle.
Yeah.
But like, and I remember same thing. It was just like bawling my eyes out. Like, did the thing with like the bobby pins, like just holding it in place for till it grew.
I mean, the short hair thing was not helpful to also being like the one little brown kid in my class who was already made fun of.
You were
for
already a
being
target.
born like
Yeah.
the way I was. And then I was ridiculed for like, why does your dad have Mercedes Benzes if you guys have weird dots on your head? Like I dealt with a lot of weird
Oh,
shit
that's
growing
horrible.
up.
Yeah.
And now I look like an Indian boy. So they couldn't tell what the fuck I was.
There was just another target for kids.
It was just another layer to peel back.
Well, you've
God.
blossomed quite beautifully.
I mean, you are stunning.
Yes.
Thank you. I stopped letting people do my hair unless I dictated.
Yeah, that's always a thing. And I feel like there's a big discrepancy there. Like I want to do what somebody wants to do, but also it's having the conversation of like, that's not going to work for
Right.
you.
Right.
And not just doing it. Cause like I've gotten a thing where somebody with like my hair, it's super straight, brings in a reference photo of curly hair. And I'm like, I can do the haircut, but unless you're curling your hair, it's not going to look like
Yeah,
that.
it's not going to happen.
And so it's kind of having that communication. I feel like sometimes either it be ego, time, lack of experience, like
But
you
Could they
lose
do a
that.
perm? Could they do a perm and it would curl it?
I mean, theoretically, yes, as long as your hair's not like
you
colored or
said
anything.
you said a very bad word for me.
Uh-oh. Why?
Perm.
Does it bring you back to like Legally Blonde days or something?
It also brings me back to doing them in hair school and the rotting egg smell.
Oh,
Oh,
the
a rotting
smell
egg
is
smell.
horrible.
Oh, from
the
is it
chemical.
like sulfuric? Or
Yeah,
is it sulfur?
it's-
in
Yeah,
there?
I don't know, but it's
It
some
smells like
strong-ass
rotting
chemical.
egg. I should know this, but I haven't done a perm since hair school because I refuse to do them.
Oh my god, no! It's like another bad memory.
So talking about though hairstyles or types of hair that just
Yeah.
I guess wouldn't look good on people, and you've heard me say this multiple times, where my entire life I've always wanted to go blonde,
Yeah.
just because I wanted to have fun with blonde. But every stylist always told me it's just going to destroy your hair. One, because we'll have to strip it of color. It may hurt
Yeah.
your follicle, and then you'll be blonde, but then you'll have these like incredibly dark roots in no time. So I was always convinced away from going blonde.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is damage when chemicals are involved, but it's also like taking things slowly while doing it. Like I can use a super strong lightener, but it's gonna fry the hair. Or you can use something super gentle and let it go longer. I always say it's like the difference between like sprinting and walking a marathon.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're gonna get to the same place. It's just the amount of time and the condition you're gonna be in it. Like, yeah, roots grow in, but we re-lighten them when they're like half an inch.
So instead, I I used to get like
So-
streaks in my hair, which would be like auburn color.
Yeah.
or
But
something
You
like
also
that.
did the whole lemon juice thing, right?
Oh, back when I was a lifeguard, when I was younger.
The sun bleaching with lemon juice.
Yeah. So what would be, because we were out in the sun like 8 hours a day, so we all used to just put like lemon juice just right in our
Yep.
hair and it just lighten the hair a little bit. And recently, though, talking about it, what's funny is other than some lemon juice in my hair when I was a teenager, or again when I was a teenager, some blonde streaks that I had in my hair.
Yeah.
Kirti threw a birthday party for me a couple years ago, and some friends came up to me, patted me on the back, and they said, "Oh, Greg, we're so happy to see that you're not dyeing your hair anymore." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I've never dyed my hair." It's because like I guess my gray was starting to come through a little bit more. That no one believed that I was that I wasn't dyeing my hair. They just thought
Yeah.
it was I was dyeing my hair. So it was.
I
kinda funny.
love grays though. Like I love.
I mean,
them
his is
so
growing
much.
in beautifully. Like
Yeah.
it's like
It's
perfect,
working.
like salt and pepper look. I might end up looking like Indira Gandhi, but that's okay. Like I'm starting to get like big streaks of gray
Yeah.
coming in.
I seriously love them though. Like it kind of hurts my soul a little bit every time I have to do like a full coverage on them.
So I don't do any coverage
Yeah.
yet, and would love your opinion on this. My colorist actually is refusing to dye like my virgin hair,
Yeah.
as she calls it, forever. And I was like, yeah, but I kind of want a different look. Like
Yeah.
I'm so tired of being like a brunette who used to have even blacker hair, and now I've become a little bit more brunette as I've gotten
Yeah.
older. And she finally started doing balayage, like
Yeah, I
slowly
love the
through.
highlights on it.
I haven't gotten my hair cut and colored since July of last year.
Okay,
It's been a
it's been a
long-
minute.
Yeah, that's because at one
long
point she had a bob.
I
so you've been
chopped
trying
it
to,
all off.
yeah, and so she's been trying
That's
to grow
so
it out ever
cathartic,
since.
though.
It felt really good, except it was done badly.
Oh, well.
So then my new stylist had to fix
What was done
it.
badly? The bob?
Remember, like I went to that salon.
Was it like triangular by the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Instead of like the reverse bob, which is what I was going for,
Yeah.
it like somehow I started looking like a big like Japanese fan or, you know.
Japanese fan. It was trapezoidal.
Yeah. And then when I would like wear it curly, I looked like Jesus. Like it was really, like different looks that I have.
Like,
you
it's
know.
a vibe.
You know, I
I'm not
just
sure
kind
it's
of
a-
go with the flow,
Yeah.
and I try to distract people with hair clips and pullbacks and.
Yeah, I'm a big beanie fan. Like, beanies are my go-to because, like, I love doing hair. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to do my own.
No?
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, like I'm doing it all day,
Yeah.
5 days a week.
I know what
Like,
you mean.
so even when it comes to like cutting, coloring my own, like one of my friends who does mine, like he'll have to message me and be like, "You have an appointment on this day. We need to fix it."
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh.
That's
Like-
transparency from a friend. Say, hey,
Yeah.
it's time.
Yeah, it's always good. And they're like, "Your roots look like trash. We need to fix those." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you could have said it a little nicer. You're not wrong, but like."
Sometimes I just like don't care.
That's the thing. Like, I'm around hair all day. It means I have to either go back to the salon on a day off, get there
That's true.
before work.
Doesn't allow you to
stay
have that
late.
separation.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But you must have
Is it a
friends.
different salon?
Yeah.
Okay. That's, at least it's a different salon. You
I
have
was
to
gonna
like,
say like
I've done it at
Congregate with
mine,
the same people,
but
yeah.
like the person who used to do it at my salon, like we now have opposite schedules. So his days off, I work, and my days off, he works.
Oh,
So it was either like
do you miss each other on work days?
Oh my
then?
God, so much. Like he was my co-conspirator for a long time. We were both management for a long time. He had stepped down and went independent. And then I recently stepped down and I'm going to be going independent, like I'd said earlier, in a couple weeks. So it's always just kind of like Tuesdays are the day we see each other now.
So how does that feel going independent?
Right now, stressful. There's a lot of excitement but also scared shitless over the fact of like, I know I'm moving far. So I'm going to lose a lot of my clients, which like was a big thing that
Sure.
kind of stopped me for a long time
Yeah.
because like I've known these people for so long and like, I kind of feel like I'm abandoning them. And
We were abandoned recently by ours.
she.
Oh, no.
Well, she's back now. She had
Which
to.
we're so freaking
we're
excited
She
about.
had
Yeah.
to change states for personal reasons for
Yeah.
a little bit, and she wanted to get away from the New York area. And then now she's back. We were so upset when she left, and then now she's
It was
back.
2 years.
It was 2 years, and she just cut my hair last week.
Yeah.
I think last week. I was so
Yeah.
excited to have her back to cut my hair.
yeah, and like I know some people will follow me down, but it's still like,
It's far, right?
it's
The
LA
OC is far.
too. Like I think it's like 40 miles.
That's far.
Yeah, so about an hour from like out here.
But I always thought, like, stylists, even though you may work at a salon, like, I'm not quite
Yeah.
as familiar with the business model surrounding a salon, but every time I spoke with a stylist that cut my hair, they were making their own schedule. They had their own clients, and they were paid based upon their clients and not a salary.
So there's a lot of different ways that it can happen. You can either be an employee of the salon where you're getting hourly and your tips. You can be on commission, which is where you're an employee, but you only make like a certain percentage of the services that you do.
Oh.
And then you can be which is where I'm going toward, which is independent, which basically I'm paying a rent to be at the salon.
It's like you
I'm
rent
paying
the chair.
Yeah, I'm paying my own products. Like I'm building the LLC for it, but I keep everything. But there's also a lot more expenses on
That's
it.
Yeah.
that's how actually in the past at least our stylists were. They
Yeah.
were the third because for instance Cressa, who
Yeah.
like now is back, she also worked on the Lower East Side
Yep.
at another place. So she would have a chair like at two different salons
Yeah.
in two different neighborhoods in Manhattan, you know, which was
Yeah.
lucrative for her. To
But I
have
will say,
client bases.
at least from my experience, when you find a stylist you love,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know I've stayed. Like, so for instance, before Cressa, there was a stylist. She used to cut my hair in I think it was the Soho area. Then she changed salons to the
Did she go to Brooklyn?
Lower East Side.
Yeah.
And then, so I followed her there. Then she moved out to Jersey, followed her there.
Wait, you went to Jersey?
Well, it was just right over, like,
Okay,
You
that's still
never-
dedication.
you never
Going to
dedication.
another
Jersey.
state.
to Jersey. And where actually at the salon there, she used to work with like some of the original like club kids from like
Well, I
the
thought she
80s.
was-
Okay,
What's
that's
her-
amazing.
That's
though.
amazing. So I was
Wasn't
meeting
she,
them.
what's that rock chick? Patty.
Oh, you're talking Joan Jett.
Yeah, Joan Jett.
Joan Jett. Yeah, she's friends like Joan Jett.
is just an icon in general.
Joan Jett's awesome. And then she moved to Brooklyn, and then I was going to Brooklyn, but I just found it so taxing. It was like an hour and a half to get there every time for getting a haircut. And that's when you
became a
introduced me
project.
you introduced me to a new stylist, and then that was significantly closer, and that's when I finally made the move because she
Yeah.
cut my hair, incredibly well.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So
Cressa does a great job.
yeah, Cressa does an awesome job.
And she uses scissors.
And so Cressa is meticulous.
It's important.
Well, for me, even, I don't have short hair like Greg,
Well, she
obviously.
spent an hour and 20 minutes with me last week.
Yeah.
Like, so when typically it's funny, when speaking with different stylists and at the salon we go to, they normally book 30 minutes for a male slot.
Yeah.
But for me, the stylist tell them to book an hour
Yep.
because we sit down, we talk about it. Then they only use shears, no thinning shears. And
Thinning shears, I hate.
the
I was
worst.
about to say, they try to do that to me.
No, you want normal shears
Yeah.
to texturize. Like, there's the one exception to the rule for me where I will use thinning shears is if I'm doing like a clipper cut and I have to blend the clipper work into the scissor work. That is
Yes.
my only exception to the rule. I hate them with a burning passion.
Oh yeah, because it looks good. Like maybe while you're there in the salon, then the
But then
next
it looks
morning
shredded.
it looks shredded and horrible.
Actually,
And
I made my
so-
hair froey. And
Yeah.
I've seen
Oh, that's
that.
the same thing with
Well,
mine with my
because
thick
you guys
hair.
have curls.
Yeah,
Yes.
just
What it
goes
does is
right
it
out.
breaks the curl pattern.
It was hitty.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally ugly. And that's like a hard thing, like finding salons with people who have the expertise to work with different texture of hair.
Curls and calyx.
So
Yeah.
what's your expertise?
I would say color is my main thing. I love color corrections. Like, I love
It's too bad I couldn't be here like a day extra to get
I
you to fix my
know.
color.
But like, I love when I see one or two people a day. I love the hours long appointment where like you actually get to talk to somebody and like hang out with them, and it's not like okay, next.
Yeah. It's less of a commodity.
Exactly. I love more what I call loose styles versus the like every hair has a place and needs to be styled into that place. Kind of more the low effort, like 5 minutes I can be out the door and ready to go because that's how I am. And I feel like we all kind of do the vibe that fits us.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I can do a super clean skin fade if I need to. I don't have a lot of those clients because that's not my expertise on things. That's one of the other reasons I'm kind of like shifting to more independent is I don't want to feel like I have to be rushed with
What's
anybody.
a super skin fade?
Like super tight skin fade where it's completely bald down here without even stubble on it.
Oh, I see.
Whoa.
Like, and so
That sounds military.
it's kind of leans military. Like that's kind of where they originated, like the crew cut. But there's a lot of different versions of it now.
I remember back in the 80s, like flat tops were the things. I never
Yeah.
had one, but like dudes were getting flat tops.
I may have had that. Who knows?
when you were 6.
When you went to the unisex salon.
Had
Exactly.
a unisex salon in the mall situation.
Oh, that's funny.
So, like, when you spend hours and hours with people,
Yeah.
do you actually enjoy talking to them?
Most of the time, yeah. Like, obviously, I can get along with like most people, but obviously, I'm not going to completely vibe with everybody.
Yeah. Well, you were in a people business.
Yeah. Ironically, introvert.
Oh.
But like,
I wouldn't have picked that up from
Yeah,
even just
no.
meeting you the last hour.
yeah, like I can be very social, but I'm also like at the end of the day, come home and I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm like, I'm going to sit on my couch or read or watch some like silly Netflix show or something.
Yes.
For
yes.
a long while.
But I think those moments are important.
They are. I need to decompress because, like, I get told a lot of good, but I also get told a lot of bad.
So you were like, so you play two roles. You play the stylist/therapist.
Yeah, the therapist role comes along with the disclaimer of like, I am a hairstylist and also like I can be petty. So maybe like take what I'm saying
With
like,
a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if this goes wrong, I didn't tell you to do it. I said what I would maybe
I am
do.
not a practicing medically approved therapist.
I'm like,
but-
I have a hair license, not a therapy one.
So petty as in like, quit your bitching, just get back with the guy. Who cares? Like if he's cheating on you.
no, you don't go back with that. For
Why
me,
would you
like,
go back to that type of person?
Huh? No. She said she's being like, I was just
no,
wondering the
my
pettiness.
petty is the like, oh, he keeps messaging you, so turn your read receipts on so he sees you read it.
Oh, I see.
And then just don't respond. Like, you don't block. You want them to see you read it.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
And so they know you're ignoring.
Oh.
Purposefully.
Yeah, like that type of petty. Nothing where like somebody really, something could horribly go wrong, but like.
I get it.
Again, Andi is not a practicing therapist.
I see.
Yes. Yes.
But
She
I
only
feel like
plays one in the salon.
I just pretend to be and give bad advice along
but
the
I
way.
feel like I'm getting great advice right now.
Exactly. That's the trick. I get to live my fantasies through other people and then like, use them as a test run occasionally.
Are stylists competitive? Like in the obviously you mentioned your friend
Yeah.
who you're very friendly with, but in the world of styling, what is the vibe of stylists?
It depends on the stylist. You definitely get the ones who are very competitive and the like, how dare you like do that sort of thing. But also I feel like a lot of us are like, want each other to grow and learn. Like we all do different things in different techniques. And there's so many stylists, but there's also so many clients. There's no shortage of that. So like, I know like a lot of my friends and I, like we get competitive with each other, but more in like a, like, well, I did better than you today sort of way.
Interesting.
And then like, well, I'm going to beat you tomorrow. Like it's more in that kind of like,
It's kind of bitchy.
but like it can be, but it's more like we're all friends and we hang out and it's in the joking, like
It's in the humor of
it's
it
in the
all.
humor of like trying to push each other to do more sort of thing.
That reminds me talking about, although they're not a California band, but they are known for their California hit, Hotel California, the Eagles.
yes.
So they used to, internally, they were kind of, the guitar players were basically friendly competing with one another. Okay, you can do that. Well, check this out. And they were
That's
pushing each
exactly
other
how it
musically
is.
to be better. So,
Yeah, it's like that. Then also the follow up of like, hey, how'd you do that earlier? Like, what'd you do on that?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's like
show-
sharing best practices.
Exactly. So it can get competitive, but it's not necessarily in like a bad way.
Right.
It's the like, and that's kind of more the people I try to surround myself with. I don't like the heavy
Have
drama.
there been any like assholes that you've worked with? Like any juice?
There's been some for sure. Like anytime you're in a world like this, especially Los Angeles, I feel like we have a lot of big personalities. And sometimes it's nothing like anybody's particularly horrible. It's just like personalities clash on things. So there's definitely been some instances of that. And I feel like I'm trying to word things in a way where it's not like terrible sounding. But like, yeah, you get a lot of different personalities and you get people who don't like being told when they maybe have done something wrong. And especially I was coming from a position of management. And I'm a firm believer in like pick your battles, like let people kind of do their thing. But also like if something's unsafe, I'm going to say something.
she just went on an Elf moment, the movie Elf.
Yeah.
When what's his name? The main actor in Elf from SNL. I forget
Will
his name.
Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Yeah. Well, I couldn't believe I forgot his name. So when he's having a problem making the sketches, and the manager comes over and he's like, "Well, you're just special. So you just went PG on your analysis
I don't
of others."
ever want to talk bad about somebody else.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, if you're in a managerial position, though,
Yeah.
it's I think okay, and I've had to become comfortable with this in my craft. That it's called critical feedback.
yeah, I'm fine with critical feedback on things, but I also don't like talking down or
And you don't want
bad-
to talk
Yeah.
badly
Yeah,
or talk behind
exactly.
anyone's back because
That's
that's wrong.
exactly what it is. But there's definitely been instances where like
Like, has someone set someone's hair on fire?
that's never happened.
Or has, someone dyed their hair and all the hair has fallen off their scalp?
That has happened.
Oh, shit, I would die.
That's happened also with like cuts when like especially clipper cuts, like somebody gets white walled, which is when you're going around the ear with the trimmer and you maybe accidentally touch the scalp instead of just the hair around the edge. And like things like that happen or something on the
so
cut goes
painful.
wrong. And
Like
like,
get nicked.
Oof.
yeah, like
No.
even I have like accidentally nicked somebody before. Like we're working with blades. Obviously it's a horrible thing when it happens. And
Yeah.
like I'll own up when it happens. Most of the time, ironically, people don't feel it. The blades are so sharp they don't
I was
feel
gonna say,
it.
they're technically razors, right?
Yeah.
So you don't feel it?
most of the time if you nick somebody, they really don't feel it because you're pulling the skin so taut so you don't nick somebody, and the blades are super sharp.
Wow.
So then it's the awkward moment of like, I am so sorry, like you are bleeding, like I accidentally nicked you. And most of the time it's like the blade on the clipper or the trimmer like shifted, and like I didn't notice right away. So things like that, like I've never got anybody with shears, knock on wood. It's normally clippers if it's gonna happen.
So I'm curious because
Yes.
I'm a LA hair virgin.
Yes.
Clearly, I was a makeup virgin, which I discovered last night.
Oh no.
Did not know how makeup is worn in the West Coast versus
I will
East
say
Coast.
it's not all that way. It's not all that way. You got very unlucky.
Yeah, awkward. But do people like get Botox and haircuts at the same time out here? Because I mean,
No.
this is the perspective of New York girls. We think
Yeah.
all the LA people, not all of California, but LA audience, they are super into their plastics.
Yeah.
And do they do like plastic and cut?
I
No.
just came up with a
that's-
business idea.
That is a great business idea. I don't think it's really a thing. I feel like there's a sanitation issue somewhere in there of like you don't want like.
But is there? I mean, you could have a clinician doing a
Because in San
injection here
Francisco,
while
they
this is-
have laundromats that are also bars, right?
That's a genius idea.
yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Have a cocktail while
we
you're
could start a
clothes
business
wash.
together called Bow Hair, where all of a
Hair.
sudden, you take care of the hair,
Okay.
and we'll take care of we'll bring in doctors and take care of people's Botox.
I mean, that's
Bow
fair.
hair.
I can get my lips touched up then between breaks. Like,
But I was like, I guess, imagine this culture that's so distinct from where we come from.
I feel like too, like the LA culture in terms of like beauty and things, it's always like based upon like what's seen in movies and what's seen on the runway and stuff like that. But like that's not a majority of the vibe out here. Like there definitely is some of that. Don't get me wrong, but like I feel like most people really aren't that way.
I would say even Miami is similar in culture
Yeah.
to LA.
yeah.
They love like augmentation of
Yeah.
all apparatus and aesthetics. And
Definitely.
I just like, for instance, I rather spend money on getting my hair done before.
Yeah.
I haven't had any work done yet.
Okay.
Probably need to venture there at some point, but
Yeah.
until I really have to. And I'm also exceptionally lazy. Like,
I feel that on a personal level.
I mean, I haven't got my hair done in more than a year. Like, it's like, been
I
a
mean,
while.
I've done that before too, though.
So it's like if I won't embark on something unless like I'm gonna stick to it, you know?
Yeah, like I think for me, like I don't have issues with like fillers, Botox, anything like that. Like I get my lips filled, like
Which is a really common thing.
yeah,
now.
it's super common. It's just something that I like doing. Well, I mean, I don't like the process, but I like the result.
Right.
But like I think the issue lies when people lie about the fact that it's been done.
That happens on a regular
Because
basis.
like then it's setting an unrealistic expectation of like, well, why don't you have any wrinkles? It's like, well, it's because I use a moisturizer. It's like, no, it's because of Botox.
Oh.
Which like there's nothing inherently wrong with using it if it makes
No.
yourself feel better, but don't
And
set
that's
an-
why I say I may
Yeah.
need to use it at some point.
Yeah.
But for me, I just rather use my money on other things.
100%. Like I'll do my lips once a year.
I get accused of using Botox.
Yes, you do.
I've never done Botox at all, but I get accused of Botox.
Really?
They're like, how are you like almost 50 without wrinkles on your forehead? He gets that all the time.
I do.
That's
yeah.
I mean, like for me, I like my skin's pretty good. Part of that's I don't go out in the sun because the whole super pasty, I turn super red when I do. So it obviously helps your skin a lot. So it's like I don't really do Botox, anything like that. I just do the fillers, but I feel like there's so much deceit now on like
Well, I think social media has a lot
that's
of
exactly what it is.
like it disturbs. It sometimes makes me sad when I see these
Yeah.
things, and I'm like, oh, should I be doing stuff to myself
and
at
I
some point?
feel like the fact that people hide it puts so much shame around the idea that they're doing it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because it seems like, well, if somebody's hiding it, then it's something that's shameful and I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
no, I think they
Yeah.
should be
The
open
stigma
about it.
yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And it's kind of like always that like double-edged sword then of like,
Do you have clients like that?
I don't really personally have any clients like that. I feel like most of my people are pretty relaxed in general. Like most of them are really similar to how I am.
But what's funny is like, so we're talking Botoxing, which is cosmetic, which
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover, right? And so you have people, like we were talking about it, like we know people that will complain about the cost of a haircut in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
But then they'll go drop a coin on,
yeah.
Botox.
Definitely.
Which it kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I feel like it's the idea of like, especially now, like at home cuts and things like that. And like, I will never shame somebody for doing their hair at home.
Like, as in like a Flowbee. Do you know what the Flowbee is?
Flowbee?
Oh, yeah.
What's a Flowbee?
You guys don't know the Flowbee?
Wait, is that like the vacuum thing
Yeah,
that
it's
like
the vacuum.
cuts the ends
Yeah,
of...
you plug your vacuum onto this cutter, and then you just and it vacuums all the hair pieces as it's
Yeah.
cutting your hair. The Flowbee.
I feel like there's
I've
kind
never
of...
heard of this.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing the
like-
infomercial
yeah, it's an
for
infomercial.
it. It's the like early 2000s infomercial.
The Flowbee.
Like,
This one passed me. I'm not the target market. Not really looking to vacuum haircut off my.
oh, it's
scalp.
really concerning. We'll have to show it to you later because
gonna
the
have to look at this.
infomercial's hilarious. But
You can cut your hair with the Flowbee.
only
No
the
mess.
split ends.
Yes, and your hair is a perfect cut every time.
Is this for men?
No, it's for women and
They
men.
marketed
for everyone.
it to everybody.
Yeah, unisex.
Oh,
Yeah.
they missed me as a market. Thank God.
But yeah, it's like hair can be a luxury service.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of the truth is like I have to pay my bills too. I don't want to be so outrageously expensive that people can't afford me.
Right.
But like, because
And you want a big client base, not a narrow client base.
exactly, like I want to be there for people who need me to be there. But also like social media, like again, you get all the TikTokers who talk about like the Karen clients, things like that. And a lot of that to me isn't necessarily somebody being that way. It's a lot of times just a miscommunication on stuff. And it goes back to like talking to your clients and not shaming them.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
at home color, hair color is expensive. If you can't afford it, you deserve to feel good
Oh, of
regardless
course.
of what your price point is.
Yep.
Yep.
And so but when it's going the at home's horrible, we're never going to be able to do your hair, like all of this, like it's just shaming people, which makes them not want to go to the salon.
Well, you know, I, honestly, like I grew up dyeing my own hair when I was
Same.
younger, and even in college and even thereafter.
Oh,
it's
I
only
did.
later,
Yeah.
when I became much more successful in my career, and I had this disposable income to
Same.
outsource it to professionals. That's when I started to spend
Even
money.
now, me outsourcing is outsourcing my friends and we're trading. Like,
Yeah.
but like I was totally the
we
kid.
should
in-
not shame at home care.
No, when I was in high school, I was the kid who was going to like Sally's and buying the bleach that like definitely burned my hair off. And
Yeah.
like same through college. Did I keep doing it on my own? Obviously.
Well,
but like,
I mean, for even me, like I really love just going to like an Indian threading salon to get
Yeah.
my like eyebrows and upper lip done. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
not really that hairy, frankly, oddly enough, for an Indian chick.
hey, we love it.
Not all Indian chicks are hairy.
Just saying.
PSA.
PSA announcement.
But like,
Same with Italian men. I'm not that hairy, except for the top of my head.
and I'm going to sound like, maybe I'll sound cheap right now or whatever, but like, you know, after the pandemic and then we both went through job changes. Like I
Yeah.
left corporate America to join startups, which means I make less. And that's
Yeah.
fine because I'm working on things that mean more to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have to cut back on some things. And I bought myself like the honey, whatever organic wax thing.
Oh,
the
like
hard
the
wax.
sugaring.
Yes, the sugaring thing, like the little kit.
Yeah.
And I freaking like self wax all the time. And it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going out and spending $25 to go get my eyebrows and upper lip done.
I feel like it's definitely about priority. And for me, like hair is a part of who we are. It's a very external thing. And also it's always like the joke of like trauma cutting bangs and things like that. But like our hair does hold stuff. Like it's there with us and it can be cathartic to cut it off. Like getting our hair done in a salon for me isn't necessarily just about the haircut or just about the color. It's the experience of having a neutral ground or a safe space to be where you can escape from everything else going on in your life.
I don't go on my phone when I'm in the salon.
Yeah.
Mostly because my stylist is like, you can't have your phone out. Shit's going to get on
Yeah,
it.
it's getting all like
Well,
hairy.
also the problem is your head will do this.
This, yes.
And it keeps moving. That's like trying to hit a moving target.
Yes. Yes.
So I completely agree with you. And words you said earlier about it feels good. And one of
Yeah.
my old stylists, the one I was talking about that I kind of used to follow places, we used to chat. Like every time I'd get my hair cut, and even now with Cressa, you just feel great when you have a like a killer haircut, and you walk out of the salon, you feel great in that whole experience. And so my old stylist used to say, the best thing someone can do if they're having a bad day, go get a haircut. It instantly changes your whole mindset and like helps to remove what may have happened in that day, and you just walk out feeling great.
Well, absolutely.
To me, personally, hair is like a huge part of my confidence.
Yeah.
Like whether I'm getting on a call or I'm going to go speak in public, or it's such a critical piece of all my being, my personality, and I've cried, right? When my hair is like not looking good.
Same. I feel like so many people have.
It's like funny. It sounds like superficial, like, oh, we're talking about hair, but like it's not. It's a part of you. You're born with it.
Yeah.
It's like there's
Some people
vanity,
aren't,
but it's also an outward expression of who we are. And when you don't feel like yourself, you don't have the confidence, and therefore you feel like trash.
100%.
And like, I know for me, like there's definitely been times I've messed haircuts or stuff up, but I'm always want to be very like open with my clients, be like, hey, if you get home and you notice anything, like tell me. Like, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to think you're trying to do anything. Like, I genuinely want you to feel good and love your hair. And there's the thing of like, I'm styling it when I'm at the salon. When you go home and you do it on your own a couple days later, it's going to look different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I always try to teach people how to do theirs too, because education's such a big part of everything that I'm like, if you have a strand that's sitting weird, like let me know and come on in and we'll fix it.
That's how our stylist is. She's like, come back in if you don't like it.
I would say, the last, between our current stylist and the one beforehand, used to always tell me, if you don't like anything, come back in and I'll fix it. The only challenge I've ever had with that is finding the time to get back. Although I haven't had an issue where I've wanted to go back, but it's always, if I wanted to go back, thinking about it, like, I don't know if I can even get back here if I wanted to. And so one of my previous stylists also taught me that if I can't get there in time, like say my hair is getting longer and I just can't get there for a haircut yet, I need to like prolong it by another month. She actually taught me how to cut into my hair and just basically cut out some of the waves to contain it until I can get a real haircut.
She told me how to cut your hair. I'm fucking not putting a scissor.
Well, that's valid. But like, that's what I'll do for my clients with like their bangs. Like that's what's going to grow out faster and be like how to maintain things on their own. Because like, if you're covering your grays at home on your own, because you can only afford the highlights and not the gray coverage all the time, like, okay, just tell me. Like, hair should be accessible. Like,
right. I agree. This should not be a Birkin bag.
Exactly. Like, granted, it's still compensation for the work that's being put into things. And there is a lot of expensive and a lot of training behind it. But also, like, you shouldn't feel, like, depressed when you leave the salon over how much you spend.
No, never.
Well, what I tell Kirti is that obviously she wears makeup during the day. But then when she goes to bed, she's not wearing makeup. When she wakes up, she's not wearing makeup.
Process.
Oh no, I will come home blackout drunk and still do my skincare routine.
Same. We go partying and I come back and I'm like brush teeth, floss, wash face.
No,
like,
sometimes I miss that part. I will say the effectiveness of taking the makeup off blackout drunk, questionable. I will still wake up with like an eyelash like stuck to the side.
I wake up with still like my waterline, like eyeliner.
It's for me, it's like down here. And I'm like, there's still that, but I did moisturize though. So
there you go.
But what I tell her, it's not like Gwen Stefani that looks completely different without makeup. She looks exactly the same, like when you wake up in the morning as when you put on makeup.
I feel like I'm a total catfish.
Really?
What?
Yeah, because I have such a baby face.
But that's cute. So you just look like a baby.
It's cute, but I'm also like 28. I don't know if cute's necessarily what I'm always going for.
I mean, when you get to be a more grown-up lady like me, if someone told me I was cute, I'd be like, thank you.
Okay, fair. But also like...
But I instead always get like, you have a beautiful face. I'm like, oh, that's something you see like my mom.
I also have like no eyebrows naturally. Like they're super thin and arched, so I do great when the arched brow is in season. I do less great when the full brow is in season. But I'm like, I've got one thing, and it's this, and even most of this is drawn on. So,
well, I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
so
I think it looks great
for you.
But yeah, no, makeup is great. You can just be whoever you want to be that day.
I mean, clearly we'll find out who Brown Bozo the Clown is in the first,
Not Brown
in
Bozo.
the first half installation of the Bridgerton, California series.
Bridgerton
I still can't
series.
get over Bozo the Brown Clown.
Classic LA in the golden age.
So
Yes.
I have redefined the BBC for myself to Bozo Brown Clown.
Hashtag Bozo Brown Clown.
I mean, BBC's got BBL, and that's all good.
The
you know?
Bridgerton BBC. Bridgerton on the BBC tonight.
We got a lot of bees happening in this.
So many bees.
There's always bees.
This series will have a lot of bees.
Just hashtag BBC.
BB.
Maybe.
Yes. So talking though, it's funny. You just said B. It just makes me think of like a rating. And when I think of salons in general, salons themselves, like so, a stylist will have its own brand, and then a salon can have a brand. Like say like Frederick Fekkai like has his brand of salons. Do you ever get upset in the event that, so say it's the current salon you're with, I'm just hypothetically talking, where all of a sudden they may hire some stylists that aren't good, which then start to kill the brand of the salon, even though you're like a stellar stylist?
That's definitely one of the hardest things that's happened before is like the salon that I'm currently at, it's called Bishop's. It's super cool. It's a gender neutral, like everything is completely gender neutral, like queer based, like POC, women owned, like for 97% of the entire company.
Wow.
Like incredible branding. And it's like our specific location has great reviews and we have great people working there. But when somebody might come in as on a trial basis and they're getting harsher reviews and those are the top ones that show up, like I get Yelp's purpose and I get Google's purpose, but I feel like a lot of people put so much weight on that that like, and I really prefer when people leave a bad review and they're not putting a name drop of a stylist, because somebody could just be having a bad day too.
Yeah.
Like that it definitely can hurt the branding.
Or
on
they're
things.
under training, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Right? They could be coming and learning. For
Like
a few
because
weeks.
somebody normally when you're working at a salon, especially as an employee versus rental, you come in, you're doing your interview, and you also have to audition. So whatever services you want to provide, you have to basically demonstrate prior to being hired.
Oh, okay.
So like if you are a barber, you have to do a shave. If you want to do color, you have to do a highlight. Like you have to do a long cut if you're going to do that. You have to do a short cut if you're going to do that.
Do you guys get like models to come in for this?
They have normally when you audition, you have to provide your own models.
Oh, okay.
Like
I don't want to risk like using a current client.
yeah. Like I mean there's
interesting.
easy ways to find models. Like for me, like when I'm doing more of the hiring, like if somebody's new to town and they need help finding somebody, like I'll make a post and be like, model for stylist audition. And then it's a free service. So people are willing to take the risk on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually seen advertisements for that, like back in the day, like Craigslist or something like
Well,
that.
Craigslist is a great one. There's a thing called Salon Apprentice where people can like either post that they're wanting a free service or they can post that they're looking for models for things.
You don't even have to go that far. Remember Pre's best friend who was completely different profession? She decided she wanted to pursue her passion to become a hairstylist. And Pre went there, remember, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
She invited her to be her model.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she was supposed to only get a trim. And Pre walked out with 5 or 6 inches instead cut off.
Yep.
But it
Ironically,
really looks good.
yeah, during the auditions, like one of the main things I'm looking for is less even the quality of the work, because I can train somebody. It's how they're talking to the person. I'm listening for the consultation and seeing how you're communicating, because I don't want somebody who's going to bulldoze a client.
That's really interesting. To me, that's the brief. Like when we think about
Well, I'm
like
just thinking
brand
when we
strategy,
hire-
because we're brand strategists.
Yeah.
It's all about the art of the brief. And
Exactly.
what words are going in there for the different questions that we need answered.
Yeah.
Because that then really unfolds the entire solution.
Exactly.
I'm even thinking just about just hiring people, just because when I just know when I'm interviewing, and you've heard me say this multiple times, that for some reason, within the first 30 seconds of meeting someone, I can typically tell if they're the right person or
Same.
not for the role.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, something inherent in them. And as you said, it's like, how are they communicating with the client? And I care less if they have the complete experience I'm looking for, but
Yeah.
can they be molded into that position? Can they gain the experience? Can they
Yeah.
actually thrive at the position?
Exactly.
I look at for the potential and like the heart of the individual more than their past skill set.
Well,
That's exactly how it is for me.
yesterday, I was on a panel, right? That I was featured as whatever, an executive who what has been my advice or hiring practices. And we each were distinct women who shared our perspective. And one of the things that I talked about is I am a firm believer in hire with aptitude.
Yes.
And it's less about, do you have these hard skills at this precise moment? Because I love teaching and
Same.
coaching and guiding. And I had those same things like granted to me as a professional. And so that's how I look at it, even for complicated, kind of areas of like financial services or, technology products and stuff. But these things can all be learned, right? Like you said,
Skills can be learned, like personality
They
can
have to be teachable. They have to be teachable, and they have to have soft skills, which are like innate.
Yeah. My thing is like, I will put in the effort somebody else is going to put in. Like, I will go all the way for somebody if they're willing to put all that effort in. But if somebody is trying to barely scrape by on effort, like,
Right.
that's not worth the time to me, because I want to help the person who genuinely wants it.
Well, that's work ethic too.
Yeah. I'm like, because I'm the person who 100% will like burn myself out, like trying to do everything all at once. And that's something that's been really hard to learn, is boundaries.
Yes.
But like, and so it's kind of like, okay, I still want to help people. Like, education's one of my favorite things about my job. But I can't put everything on everybody all the time, and I can't take everything from everybody.
What's the most difficult teaching moment you've had? Especially now as a manager, right?
Yeah, I
In your
feel
current
like
position.
it's when a bad review did happen, and trying to communicate, like, the bad review doesn't mean you're a terrible person, you're a terrible stylist, but like, what did you do? Because like, I did the redo on it, and I'm like, I kind of saw, but it's that communication of like, are you willing to accept the responsibility and hear out what could have gone different? I feel like, because a lot of times if it's coming from a bad review, ego's already involved.
Yeah.
And once you get ego involved, a lot of times you lose that like sense of morality.
Well, I mean, not to not have like a customer always knows best perspective, but sometimes customers don't even freaking know what to ask for.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't. I would say often, I feel like people do not even know what they want.
that happens. And that's all what like we were talking consultation. That's what that's about. Is like, okay, let's look at photos, like, and why I love the question, what don't you want? And if somebody doesn't know necessarily what they want, it's always good to err on the side of like conservative, because you can cut more, you can't cut less.
Right.
Like, once it's
true.
on the ground, it's on the ground.
Man,
Yeah, it's
when
gone.
when I did that bad Jesus meets triangle / Japanese Bob thing just 3 years ago, it was like really horrific that she just went way higher than I had told her to go. And do you know how long my hair was, Andy? It was down to here. And I wanted her to also cut it so I could donate it, because it was like it was also all virgin hair. Like, I hadn't dyed it. So I was really sad.
Yeah, on a side note for donation though, like, don't do locks of love. They sell the wigs. They're not actually being donated. Wigs for kids is great. They make them for
that's
children
good to
with
know.
like who are cancer patients, and they get donated to the kids.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
So like, they're like the ideal one to donate to, but that's just like minor plug for them, because I love the organization.
Called Wigs for Kids.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have a question, and it's really about, what do you think makes a good stylist? So me, I'm an artist, musician, professionally a drummer. I also play guitar and other instruments. And as I look at a hairstylist, you can learn, say, the craft and be proficient from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
But what makes a musician is the ability to kind of transcend beyond that, have vision, have soul, and have this sort of performance technique that's your own and authentic. when it comes to hairstyling, people can learn how to use a set of scissors and cut precisely.
Yeah.
But it requires like a vision on what will look good on a certain type of person, head shape, and all these different pieces. What really like makes, in your opinion, a great stylist a great stylist?
I feel like a great stylist, like you said, technical skills can be learned. Cut, color, any of that. But for me, so much of it is the ability to adapt to who's in your chair and see them as an individual and kind of catch somebody's vibe very early on. If somebody wants to be more high maintenance, they want to put the effort into styling, like, and knowing how to adapt to the person is, and not necessarily let what you want to do get in the way. Like,
It's almost like being egoless.
yeah,
And looking at what's best. Same thing in music. It's what's best for the composition, not what's best for you as the instrumentalist. And that's kind of what you're conveying.
But I have a question, right? Like, I'm looking at you both as artists right now.
yeah.
And I know you don't have a tolerance.
we prefer, you're looking at us as like incredibly gorgeous artists.
Let me
stunning.
add that.
Yes.
Stunning. Just like I can't talk about these things on camera.
Oh, darling,
Like
thank
my
ya.
body's heated, by the sight of you guys.
Of course
But
it is.
my question is, knowing I know him obviously really well. You have like not a tolerance for poor quality colleagues.
Yes, that is true. I get at times frustrated with musicians because often like musicians will talk.
I want you to tell Andy what you do to us in the band.
So this may sound arrogant.
Oh, that's a good start.
But I have adopted the nickname from colleagues in the industry as well as friends that when I step into a situation, they call me One Take Yates, which means I can step into a situation, I play it once, and it's done, and it's like the perfect performance. So what she's referring to is where I'll be arrogant.
And he's not exaggerating.
Is I will tell people to get together and practice and be ready for when I show up. And I'm not going to sit down and play drums until you all are ready to play with me. And then when I produce the band that we have together, we'll put together a lineup anywhere from 5 to 10 plus musicians. I won't even sit behind the drum set until we're probably about 3/4 of the way through our rehearsals for a show, because I get the band to the point where I'm producing them where I feel it's actually worth my time to get behind the drum kit and actually play the songs that they're ready to actually play with me.
Okay, so I'm different than that one. I
am
totally
curious.
get that because I have a
Yeah.
high standard for myself, but I also for myself feel like I'm never good enough on the first take. Like I can find a flaw in absolutely anything I do because I feel like for me personally, once I reach the point where I've like maxed out on something, that's when I should quit. Because once I can't keep learning, once I feel like I am the best at something, I'm like, okay, this is the time to quit because you're never done growing on anything. And that's the way I look at like all my colleagues is like, okay, this time went a little rougher. So what do we need to practice? I'm a big fan of like leading people to their own conclusions on things of like, okay, what do you think went wrong? Why do you think this happened?
Tell me an example of that. Like,
Yeah, it's kind
you don't
of,
have to use your name of whoever,
Yeah.
but like,
it's kind of like something was like it was blending with thinning shears. And it was basically like, okay, there was stair steps in the back from the thinning shears where you got like the little like square notches from them. And I'm like, why do you think that happened? Like what could go different?
I've seen square notches before. That's why I'm having that face.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, do this on a mannequin head, then try something else and then come back to me. Like, and then we'll go over something. Or with color, when we're teaching somebody color, it's like, I want you to formulate first, then talk to me. And then if we need to adjust, we'll talk about why. Sort of thing. Because I don't like the idea of like telling people what to do. I think everybody has their own journey on everything. And there's not necessarily one right way to do anything.
I know you said you're not a certified therapist, but there's this really kind of very calming approach that you seem to imbue when you share what you do, how you do. It's really lovely.
Well, thank you. I feel like part of it is I want to be the person that I wanted. And like for me too, I'm autistic. Like I have very different ways of communicating things. And I feel like I also over communicate sometimes because I've run into the issue of like something being taken wrong because like right now I'm like intentionally putting expression in my voice. Otherwise we're just talking here completely and everything's monotone. And I feel like it's kind of like a learned response that a lot of people who are neurodivergent do.
Yeah.
Wait, so you just said you're autistic.
Are you
Are you
neurodivergent? Oh.
So, but you have amazing self-awareness.
A lot of therapy.
Oh.
A lot of therapy.
You know, that's a theme, like in general, that I think is just so critical and important for mental health. That we have to take care of ourselves in order to be able to take care of others and add value, right?
Yeah.
For others. I love how the champagne almost was going off the table.
Did
It was
you
amazing.
see my just like...
I have like gigantic eyeballs, and Greg and our kids often make fun of me. They're like, she has eyeballs behind her head,
Yeah.
and I have peripheral vision.
It was like right on the edge of the table. I could feel
saw
it.
it.
And I'm
I
just
saw
like, also trying not to clink the glass very loudly in the process.
We primarily drink clears. Our go-to is tequila. We're tequila. So the two main drinks we have, tequila and champagne.
Mine
Those are our two
is
go-to.
red wine and whiskey.
So
Ooh, you like
I
the
love
dark stuff.
red wine, and I used to have.
But
I
do
used
you
to have
like a sweet or a bold wine?
I prefer. I'm not a fan of a
like dry.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I love a. So I'm not like a Riesling fan, but
no.
and so I'm more of a like I love a like nice Cabernet, a Pinot Noir, something
See,
kind of like.
Pinot's too sweet for me.
Oh,
I
Pinot's
like
still too sweet for you.
Cab, Syrahs, like Brunellos.
Shiraz is nice.
Shiraz
Oh,
is nice.
Brunello.
Like, I like the super dark, like almost
Yeah.
bitter wine.
Do you ever
Oh.
try to go to like, because it's not far actually.
Then do you like
in the Bay
Merlots then?
Area.
Yeah.
Like Santa Barbara? Have you gone there?
I
for,
haven't
like-
done there. I've done Napa a few times.
We did Napa and Sonoma last year around this time. No, February with my
Admittedly,
sister.
like taking
Nice.
advantage slightly of my parents because they have a bunch of wine clubs, so they get like free tastings every year.
That
They
is
get-
amazing.
They get 4 seats, and so I'm just like, well, you know, it's only like an hour flight, and I don't get to see you guys often. It would be great to join. So I'm just like crashing their romantic like Napa trip together.
Wow.
And I
will
get to drink wine that's good.
You're like almost 30. It's not breaking romance. It's like hanging out with the kid.
You want a good inexpensive wine that tastes more expensive than what it is, and it's kind of pretty basic. Bogle, if you're familiar with Bogle wine, just
not.
Bogle.
Well, the other one is also Josh, right?
Well,
I love Josh.
Josh is good. It's a little more like Bogle. You can get like $8 to $10. Josh is more in like depending where you get like
15?
17 to
Yeah.
Bevmo,
you know like
you got to go to
22
Bevmo
range.
because they do the like buy one get one for 5 cents. So
Really?
that's the thing. They alternate the wines, but so you can get like
what do you mean 5 cents?
Yes, if you're a club member there,
Wow.
which is free. And so you can get like 2 $30 bottles of wine, and then it's only like $15.
Wow. So I used to have a nice wine collection, but we drink less wine for a couple of reasons. One of my vices is wine and like putting out like a cheese board, like a charcuterie and everything. I absolutely love it. It's just not the healthiest thing for you. And then when we drink wine, we always feel bloated the next day just from the sugar content.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we drink champagne, but
Champagne is less calories.
but champagne has less calories, and so.
champagne.
But I love a great red wine, and then also other wines, reds that are inexpensive that taste great are from Chile and Argentina.
Yeah.
Those
are great.
Those are great.
Like, see, I do the charcuterie board too, except for it's normally like Ritz crackers and just a block of cheese that I'm cutting off directly.
some like cheddar
with,
cheese.
Yeah,
you know?
like directly
you
with
know
the
what?
knife. I don't
Yeah.
go for the board. I'm just sitting there
it's
like
a baby. It's a baby board.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there like the little like trash goblin sitting at home in like PJs, just
So-
like
When-
biting my block
So
of
can
cheese.
you imagine? We've got our 2 teeny boppers.
Yeah.
And my teeny bopper specifically, she's probably gonna be like extravagant compared to us because
Yeah.
she's like, Mom, you and Greg haven't put out the cheese board in a while. And she's like, when you do it, can you make sure there's raw honeycomb?
Yeah, she
Like-
loves. We introduced her to the raw
Paste,
honeycomb with.
No, that's the mistake you made. You don't
know?
introduce
I
it. You
know.
wait till they find it on their
Do you
own.
know how
No.
many years she's been eating it? Since she was like 5.
Well, you want to know why? It's because when
That's
we
great,
build a
though.
cheese board, we're like historically we were building it say for ourselves, and then she would dabble in
Okay,
it.
true.
And because when we build it, it's a pretty elaborate board.
I don't agree with you. There was a BG period.
There was.
There was, right? And BG period when I was with, D.
But don't forget, I used to bring
No, this
cheese.
is before you entered my life.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Miss K was already divulging her appetite into this because I have always made food, remember?
Well,
and
of
put it
course,
out.
yes.
And I make variety of food. And this is the girl, when she was 5 years old, mind you, said, for my birthday, can you and daddy take me to Paris? I want to go to museums. I want to eat cheese.
Oh,
So you
my
forget,
God.
you forget, your brown child and what she who she is.
I'm talking about the honeycomb experience and like the expansion of the cheese board.
Honeycomb is something I've always brought to the table.
Okay.
I mean, look at me. I bring the honey.
Yeah, because
I do love me some honeycomb, though.
Yes, it's so good.
She's like, I'm a sweetener. So so talking cheese boards, what do you? So you mentioned your cheese board. So whenever building a cheese board, people will typically ask like, what goes into a cheese board? So I always look at cheese,
cheese and crackers,
cheese, but,
and a board,
or some beautiful artisan bread like falone or braided semolina.
Good bread is like the best thing.
It's the best thing. And then when building a cheese board, you have to have the selection of cheeses. So I always look at a cheese board with like a minimum of say like 4 or 5 cheeses because you need the different families.
Yeah.
So you need like the blue where you can have like a Bailey Hazen, a beautiful Santa Gur, something that's either creamy or a little crumbly, but something you can put on bread.
I love like a brie.
Then you have the brie. Then you have the cream
Yeah.
section. Then you can have like the type of brie, and there's different types of beautiful essences of brie, like a Moses Sleeper, and others. So you've got the brie selection, but then take brie to the next level. You go like the stinky soft cheese, like a French Approche.
I'm not about the stinky.
Oh, you're not
cheese
about the
life.
stinky?
I'm not about that life. The smell is way too aggressive for me.
It's pungent. Then you got to go like the sheep kind of side where you get like a 4-year aged Gouda, which
Gouda
like crystallizes in the mouth.
Yeah, Gouda is my all-time favorite.
So the Approche is probably my favorite stinky cheese.
It's such.
I can't do the blue.
It stinks up the entire refrigerator.
I can't do blue cheese. Like I hate goat cheese.
To me, blue cheese actually looks like it's spoiling. I'm like, we're eating spoiled
I can't get past the texture of them either because I have so many sensory issues with texture. Like I'm also don't like cream cheese. Like kind of a cheese, and to be fair, I don't know if I don't like the taste of it because I've never been able to take a bite of it because the smell hits me and I immediately
cream cheese.
Yes,
cream cheese has no smell.
Yes, it does.
It has a smell. It has like a little bit of a smell. It has a distinctive smell.
I think I compare it to the really super stinky cheeses that you
Ever
introduced
since
me
I've
to.
been a kid, like I'll get here to try it to take a bite, and then it hits me.
you.
Yeah.
So I might like the taste of it. I can never get it to the point that I actually take
You have to like plug your nose first.
But then you can't taste anything anyways.
And then, but what about, so now there's 2 other types of cheeses that are put on the board. And you have to go the kind of the more milky category, which could be like a fresh mozzarella or a burrata. Do you like fresh mozzarella or burrata?
Burrata, I love both, but burrata is the way for me.
It is gorgeous. And then the last category is like the pure salty category, which could be like a provolone or
Parmesan
or Stravecchio. It's like something of that nature. When you put all of that together, then Kirti makes a hot sauce, this awesome hot sauce, which is either habanero, ghost, Carolina Reaper, scorpion, whatever we can get our hands on. And she makes it a batch every month, and it lasts a month because we eat it like it's going out of style.
And I like get you to ship me one of those. Because that sounds amazing.
It's called God Spice Hot Sauce.
We actually, funnily enough.
Yes, with a little plug.
Well, funnily enough, what Greg is working on is now we may have food distributors that we're going to be working with soon. So it's going to become another project for us.
There's always a new project.
Yes, a new commercial project. So that will be exciting.
And then when you take, so you can take some brie.
Yeah.
So, you have brie, especially if it's like an oozy brie, and put it on a piece of falone or semolina, then put a little bit of a honeycomb and throw the hot sauce right on top. So you've got the spice, the sweet, the salt
creamy.
from the brie, and the cream from the
making
brie.
Me hungry right
Also,
now?
And then
I
the
like
semolina, which has a sweetness element to it.
We're eating lunch after this.
Yes,
it is
please.
like,
oh my God.
it is so delightful. And then
You
after
made that just so delightful sounding, and I'm so disposed you don't have some right
and
now.
then put
I mean,
take
we
a-
have habaneros in the fridge.
we do. We have fresh habaneros in the fridge.
I'm very white.
Well, those are red, so it's all good. Orangey. And then what you do is you take a bite, and then
Orange habaneros.
and then
We're comparing her to the color of habanero. This is like so wrong in so many ways.
Well, the
will
seeds are
turn
white.
me-
The seeds in the habanero
If
are
I
white.
take a bite, I'll just turn red to match it.
So then what you have to do, you take a bite, and then while the cheese and everything is in your mouth, while it's sitting there, then you take a sip of like a Cabernet or something that can like work with the fat of the cheese,
No,
something
I
heavy.
can't put
and then-
liquid to the bread.
Oh, but then
'Cause
you
then
put
it
it
gets
together.
mushy.
No, but the thing is that not with a good like fresh semolina, it doesn't get mushy. And then with the cheese and everything in your mouth, you can like blend it together and then chew on it, and then
You have
especially
the world's biggest mouth, honey. Like you put all
I do.
this piled
But the
up
bread's
thing.
still somewhat crunchy.
How we're like, rah.
oh yeah, it's not like it's
I like picturing like a when I'm
Yes.
having it, not
a little
like a,
dainty.
Not this giant
not like
sandwich.
cheese.
not like
It's like
not a Rakshasa size.
it's like all layers of the cheese board towered up like the Eiffel Tower,
You
and
have
you're
to
like,
bite it like a burger.
not really how we imagine eating cheese board with you,
but
honey.
blend it with wine, and the wine just pulls out the flavor of
It's a good thing you're
everything.
cute and you get away
oh my
with
lord, it's
whatever you're doing right now.
my
It's
mouth.
I want cheeseburger
I am.
right now.
My
you
mouth
just, why
is
did you
watering.
talk about this? You just made us hungry.
I know. Well, I can't help it.
We
It's-
have really important topics to get into.
I know, and one of them is probably about the hunger in the cheese board that we're going to have to procure at some
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Like,
I mean, it sounds like we're going to go out for Mexican after this.
which is not really a cheese board. Although we could get some
Queso.
some queso. Yeah,
chips and queso is
yeah,
like
we do love
basically
queso.
cheese board.
Yeah, that's
Get
true.
queso and,
That's true. Like 4 different cheeses melted together
That's
in a
right.
queso.
Exactly.
It's so good.
And then you can get like the peppers in there.
Some mushrooms.
Like exactly. It's basically cheese board.
pretty much. We're going to get Tori to take
And
us.
Yes, that's true.
please.
Like, Tori, we're not hanging out here. We're going out for Mexican.
Yeah, we're doing Mexican. We're getting some queso to make up for
I mean-
today's charcuterie session.
I do work in past like my current salon, and there's this amazing taco place right by it. And
Really?
I know that I go there too often because I walk in, they go, "You want the quesadilla, right?"
They just know. Like,
They know.
So we have establishments like that in the
Yeah.
city. And I'm, of course, you probably wouldn't be surprised. I'm a little particular and picky.
Oh, I'm the pickiest person. Like, I get it.
And so we walk in, they're like, you want your special guacamole that's not on the menu, that doesn't have onions, that extra fire heat in it, and you want it with the side of soft corn tortillas. Yes. And make that a double.
Make that a double.
Can I say a controversial statement?
Sure.
Avocados are terrible.
Ooh.
I hate guacamole. I hate avocados. They taste like mushy grass.
Oh.
It's like mushy dirt and grass. And like, I cannot stand them. And I always get the worst reactions to that. But like,
Do you, so is it sensory like
It's
issues that
totally
you have? Because now
sensory.
you're talking nose now, like texture.
oh
and
no, it's a running
taste.
joke in my family. It's not the taste, it's the texture for like half the foods. I also don't like cake because it's spongy.
Oh, my daughter doesn't
Wait
like
a second.
cake
She's
either.
describing all the things that Avon doesn't
Yeah,
like.
my daughter is the same kind of way. She doesn't like cake, but she'll eat cupcakes.
No, I don't, it's the texture.
Yeah.
There's like, it's the texture, which is the problem. Like, I hate velvet because velvet feels prickly.
Oh, I could see that.
Okay, so you feel sensory is something I don't think a lot of people have been aware of.
Yeah.
And for me, I dealt with a child who had tactile sensory issues.
Oh, I have so many of those too.
Like would not wear certain fabrics. Could
Same thing
not
with my daughter.
tolerate it. It was, she used words when she was like not even 2. She said suffocating.
Yeah.
I'm suffocating.
Why do
Don't
you
make
think
me
I
wear
wear
it.
stretchy everything? Like,
Yeah.
it's great. I wouldn't wear jeans until I was
She
probably 10 years old.
Only started wearing jeans when she was like 11 or 12.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear them until I was like 10 years
Do
old.
these tights cover your feet under the socks?
Yeah, because
do.
otherwise they
Are they
roll.
stirrups?
No, I just do this.
Oh,
Because
okay.
otherwise, when I wear the boots, they
start to inch
they
their way
ride
up.
and then it feels wrong.
I can't. That's my issue with socks. And like Kirti knows, I'm incredibly anal. Like putting on socks, like the stitching has to be.
Yeah, no,
in
I
a
shift it
perfect
off
spot.
of my pinky so I
do the
can't
same
feel
thing.
it on my pinky.
That's exactly what I
Like-
do. And the family tells me, oh, you're still putting on your shoes.
So annoying. Then start
No,
putting on
Because
your
I'm
shoes 15
adjusting my
minutes before we
socks
have to
accordingly.
leave.
And I can't
Yeah.
stand if it bunches up in the back at all.
Exactly,
I'm very
which is
anal
why
about-
I tuck like leggings into them so they don't ride up. Also, if I'm wearing like fishnet anything, I will put socks under them, which is like not the sexy thing for
But
like
that doesn't feel comfortable to me.
like the fishnet on my foot feels worse than the sock because I can't feel the fishnet on my
Like
foot.
that pattern.
I can't feel it if I have the sock underneath. So it's like I'm wearing fishnets. We're all like sexy tonight.
No,
and then it's like, wait, let me remove my socks from
Socks.
under.
But those
the-
are hidden. I mean, they're hidden, right? Like they're under the fishnet.
yeah, they're hidden until they're not.
Unless they're an exposed shoe, right?
No, then I'm not wearing fishnets.
No, that I don't. I would say no to that fashion statement if that was the
Yeah,
case.
I'm like, no, then I'm just not going to wear them. Like, I have to have socks underneath because it feels
interesting.
wrong feeling the pattern.
But so
Fishnets are
this-
sexy.
They
Fishnets
are sexy, unless you're wearing socks under them.
Yeah.
They're sexy until I take my shoes off, and then I'm like,
Yeah. Until it's like, wait, who brought the grandma?
28 going on 70. Hello, children.
Well, like sensory is like I just wasn't aware of it honestly
Yeah.
till I had a child who was sensitive to things
Yeah.
and would say like I don't want it too tight here, like the private region, like didn't
Yeah.
want things touching or affecting her, in a certain way.
Ironically, for me, tighter clothes are better because I hate the feeling of fabric moving.
I'm the
Oh,
same
that's
way. I can't
Because
stand
when
baggy
it's like
things.
tight, it stays in the same spot, so it's a consistent sensation.
But tight and smooth on the inside, right?
Depends on what it is, though. Like, there's so many exceptions. I don't even
Wait.
understand myself.
Did you just say tight and smooth on the inside?
I mean, sometimes we like ribbed things.
Exactly. I mean, every man's dream.
Man, woman, whoever.
Woman, that's true.
that-
Actually, it's true. Any person's dream. Yes.
That came
yes.
across. That really came across the wrong way.
The opportunity was there on that one.
Sometimes I found the rib texture was
Yes.
creating uneasiness. Whoa,
Oh.
this is gone
Well,
further.
was it a little too sharp? Was it just a little too sharp
It
and
was
just
a little
not rounded
rough.
rib?
It was a little rough,
Who doesn't love a rough ride every once in a while? What? It's like being in a Jeep in the hills in the mountains. It could be a rough ride.
Is it 4 p.m. somewhere? Like someone tell me.
I thought it was 5 p.m.
I mean,
somewhere.
it's only the half a glass of champagne.
I mean, it's our breakfast mimosa.
Yes.
We're
Because
missing the
somebody
OJ.
didn't get us the charcuterie board.
I know. Kirti, you had one job. Come on now.
Oh shit! I was supposed to do that.
I think that was you.
Me?
Yeah, Mr. Cheese Man describing like cheese to their like
You can't get like
freaking
a 3D
microbial.
porn description of cheese and not have it.
It was basically cheese porn.
It was cheese
Cheese
porn.
board. I'm still like
Cheese porn
fixated on
without
tight
the
and soft.
satisfaction ending.
Oh, tight and soft.
Well, that's kind of like brie. Before you
No,
cut into
honey,
like a
it was
brie, it's like tight.
smooth, and
Yeah,
soft.
yes. Well, like the brine around a brie is like tight
it was
and then it's
just tight
smooth
and
on the
smooth.
inside, you know?
It was just soft. It was tight and smooth. If anybody ever asks why I'm single, can I just play this clip back as the reason why?
So then is blue cheese the rippled or the rough one? What were you just talking about? The ribbed one? It's got like little ridges in it. It's like the ribbed version
blue
of a cheese.
is the like, I'm sad and you need to go home
You need
now.
to go home now. It's like it's old and moldy and already
I've
been
seriously
used.
I've been trying to take a sip for the last 3 minutes. It's been impossible to take a sip.
We will take one together.
Yes.
Cheers.
Just
Cheers.
Let's just not spit it out
too tight
everywhere.
and smooth.